I haven't got the box. Fucking Jesus. There's the bugger. I got it. I got the bugger. Rec, experience, bugger, or record. I don't really know what to call it. I'm gonna call it rec, because that's what it says. It says rec. So I'm gonna call it rec. But that means record, doesn't it? What do I call this fucking movie? Do you know I'm gonna call it record because that's what it's short for? Yeah, why the fuck not? It's record now. Greetings and salutations, my beautiful people, and welcome back to CADDY'S Film Fridays, where we talk about films and films happen. And today we are going to be talking about record, or rec, or Reese, whatever the fuck you want to call it. I'm going to call it record because that is basically what it says. Well, record, experience, fear. I was unbelievably turned on by this movie straight away. Not because of any sexual things, no, that's not what I mean. What I mean is that all of these reviews here, 5 stars, 5 stars. Terror turned all the way up to 10. Scariest film ever. Horror masterpiece. Truly horrific. And then on the back, 4 stars everywhere. One of the best films of the year. Blair Witch meets 28 Days Later. Short script, terrifying ride. This was supposed to be one of the scariest movies ever made. And to be honest, I don't see that. I don't. I'm sorry. I don't. I mean, obviously fear is completely subjective. It takes a lot to get under my skin. It takes a lot to freak me the fuck out with movies, at least, like passive entertainment. Games are a bit different because it's active entertainment. You've got to do it. If something goes wrong, you have to fix it, etc, etc. But with watching something, it takes a lot to freak me out. This didn't, like, whatsoever. Not at all. But does that mean it's a bad movie? No, it doesn't. Just because it didn't freak me out doesn't mean that I can't respect it as a movie in itself, a horror movie in itself, just as an awesome fucking movie. So I'm going to talk about it with you guys today, and no need to flee, this is spoiler free. Now, believe it or not, the first time I was introduced to this movie was with the American remake, Quarantine, and I've got to be completely fucking honest with you, it's one of the most, not even as a remake, but just as a standalone movie, one of the most forgettable, just forgettable is the word, just so damn forgettable. I don't remember a single bloody thing that happens in that movie, and it was just, there was no character to it, there was no suspense, there was nothing. It was just a really placid, is that a word? Flaccid, I'm gonna say. Flaccid. A flaccid movie. It was just so goddamn non-shit giving that I didn't give really much of a shit watching it back. And then we get the original Spanish, I believe. I think it's Spanish. I think it's Spanish, yeah. I think it's, yeah, the original version. And it's subtitled and everything. And honestly, not only was all of the shots and all of the plot elements completely ripped out for Quarantine. Like, Quarantine doesn't do a single original thing. As I was watching this, I was remembering Quarantine, because Quarantine pretty much, apart from 1 or 2 plot details, copies this. But it makes it worse. That's what Quarantine does, so don't even bloody bother. Anyway, I figured out that that was the original version, and me and Kerry sat down to watch it, figuring out it was one of the scariest things ever. We watched it at like 1 in the morning to be like properly freaked out. And like I said, it didn't do anything for me. The last 10 minutes I thought were particularly intense. Won't say what happens, but that's the only time I really got on the edge of my seat. The rest of it, though, it does have unpredictable moments, really shocking, vivid, sudden moments. Not as in, like, jump scares everywhere. It's very claustrophobic, it's very uncomfortable to watch half the time because it's all done in the first person of the cameraman Pablo. Love Pablo, one of the best characters, and you don't even see him. It's fucking great. Don't know how they managed to do that. He feels like a part of the universe, Pablo. And that's another strong thing about the film. It's its characters. All the characters are believable, they act believably. Do you know what? I'm going to explain the plot first before I go any further, because this is ridiculous. Okay, so Record follows the story of a journalist and her news crew, which is basically just her and Pablo. I've forgotten her name, I'm so sorry, I've completely forgotten her name. Again, no notes, sorry about that. But they go over to a fire station to document what their job entails. And they're going around the fire station, everything's normal, and then they get called out onto an emergency case. And it's not a fire, but it's an emergency. So they hear this block of flats in the middle of the city report some screaming and these loud noises. So they call the fire brigade, they call the police, they call everybody. The fire brigade get there first. The fire brigade gets in, and then they find what the problem is, and then all of a sudden shit goes wrong. and they end up being locked up in this block of flats, which is why Quarantine is the remake is called Quarantine. The whole block of flats gets sealed off by everybody, and no one can get out, no one can get in, and no one is told what is going on for their own protection, I guess. I'm not entirely sure, but basically everyone's locked in this flat, and whatever happens is whatever happens. And as I was saying about the characters, sorry to completely go off track, but with the characters, yes, they act in that situation utterly believably, and the good thing is that they act believably on both sides. You feel sorry for the people inside the flat, but then you understand why the people outside have sealed them off in the fucking first place. And that level of understanding, like, it doesn't just do the whole corporations are big and evil bullshit that you see in these movies. It actually makes you understand why they're being locked up, but it makes you feel for the characters that are locked up, and the way they behave, the way they act, the way they freak out, the way they panic. It's all completely, really solidly acted, really scarily well acted, actually. Really, really well acted. And every single character, from the arsehole police officers that were already on the scene, to the firefighters that are trying to sort everything out. And of course Pablo. Pablo is a great character, and you don't even bloody see him. He's behind the camera, but he's got so much character. He feels part of everything. He's not just the lens in which to see the movie. He is the lens. He's controlling what the audience sees, and his character, as he is as a character, makes sense of what he does look at, what he doesn't manage to look at, when he drops the camera, when he picks it up and then realises that someone's been fiddling with it. It's really, really subtle, really well done stuff. You feel sorry for the people, everybody in the flat straight away, because they're not told anything, they've been forced to stay in one place, they're being yelled at, they're being abused by the higher-ups because they're obviously panicking and they're not calming down. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, which I guess most people would do in a panic, they end up becoming more horrible the more the film progresses. They end up becoming racist towards, like, an Asian family in the flats and everything. And what's really horrible is the fact that the Asian family are immediately blamed for what's going on because their grandfather basically an older member of their family was sick, and they're the ones that are immediately blamed, immediately thrown into. But then it turns out to be one of the just random, I guess, white person, one of the random white ladies. It turns out that it's her involvement more than anybody else's, and the first thing that she does is defend herself, and everyone kind of doesn't really believe it straight away. It takes a while for the realization to actually sink in. So there's that other level of what do people do in a panic. You think that everyone, it's like everyone acts up for the camera when Pablo's there. They find out that the news crew are there, so everyone's acting up, and everyone tries to calm down, and everyone's trying to get the message out to people so that they can see how they're being treated and everything. But the second that everything starts, the shit starts hitting the fan, the true nature of people, the true I don't want people to see this on TV, I don't want people to film me kind of nature of people comes out in a most horrible way. And it's a great study in character, it's a great study in human nature and reactionary stuff. And then, of course, you get the main bulk of everything, the fear factor. Now, where it is a very freaky premise and it is really well acted, really well structured as well, the fear factor I personally don't think was very scary, but then that's just me. I didn't think there was enough intensity. Like I said, it's more of a character study, if you ask me, than a horror, an outright horror movie. There are loads of moments where I think it could have been a little bit scarier, or there could have been more tense moments. But when the moments do happen, they're really, really well done. They can be really intense, really gory, but not in-your-face gory, just very realistically gory, just for a split second and then move on to something else. Kind of like, I suppose, the deaths in The Last of Us, I guess, if I can compare it to anything like that. And like I said, apart from the last 10 minutes, which I thought were particularly on your edge of your seat, pretty scary, if you ask me at least, the rest of it is pretty, as far as I'm concerned, tame for scares, if you ask me personally. I'm not going to say that everyone would be not scared to see it. Again, fear is subjective, but I just feel like a little bit too much time has gone into the characters, which I won't say who lives and who dies, but at the end of the day, it's one of those kinds of movies you can see where it's going. You can see that a lot of them are going to die, so a lot of the character building up and a lot of the arsehole reveals and everything are don't really mean much in the grand scheme of things. So a lot of those moments could have been taken over, especially in the first half, by more. It's really well built up, don't get me wrong, to the last half, in which shit really starts happening. But then before that, it is a little bit too tame for its own good. It builds up everything really well, but it doesn't really build up suspense. It doesn't really build up panic. It's just kind of eerie, I guess. But for everyone saying that it's fucking terrifying, the first half, especially the first half, in my personal opinion, could have been a lot fucking scarier. But like I said, when the moments do happen, I mean, it's a block of flats, it's claustrophobic, it's thin, it's really narrow, it's really tall. There are some awesome shots from Pablo, especially, of when he looks over the banister and you see just a collection of all of the flat residents, like, looking up. And there's loads of awesome moments like that, and they do take advantage of the claustrophobicness and the locked doors because it's a quarantine and everything, and the fact that no one can get out, and the fact that all of the people are just standing outside watching them and waiting for all of this to be over with and everything. It's just very uncomfortable, and that's the thing. It's a very uncomfortable movie, and the Pablo filming is what basically brings it all together. If it was shot traditionally, I don't know how well it would have fared out, but as it stands, with the kind of setting that it is, and the film that it is, and the documentary, journalistic nature of everything, it ties in with every theme very, very well. And that's why it works so well as a character study as well, because it is still a news journalist kind of program that they're trying to make. Not only trying to get the message out, not only trying to see every little thing that they can, which is what obviously the audience don't necessarily want to see, but they have to because that's the thing that they're stuck in. Like, half the time Pablo doesn't really want to film what he's filming, but he has to because that's what they need to show everybody. They need to break the story, you see. And let people know how they were treated while they were being quarantined, as it were. But if it was any other situation, if it was traditionally filmed, you'd think they'd just try everything they can to get out. If they were going to die anyway, they'd probably jump out of a window or something. They'd figure out some way of getting out. And here, with all of the character studies, with the interviews that the news crew do and everything, it really ties into everything really well. Because, like, this is the thing with the Blair Witch. It initially becomes a filmed documentary thing, but then it turns out that they just want to film their journey because why the fuck not? And yes, it was one of the first of its kind and everything, but that kind of idea I didn't really find too compelling. But here, it's not found footage as much as it was they were trying to document everything that they could for the benefit of everybody knowing exactly what the hell was going on. So you find out two sides of every character, when the camera is on them and they're being interviewed and when they're not, and you find out how the emergency services react to the cameras, but then they have other other priorities to deal with. So it's just basically every layer of how the journalists work in their way into the story, and how the audience views the story through the lens of the journalists and Pablo's filming. Because, like I said, if you were in that situation, you probably wouldn't want to. The first thing you wouldn't want to do is film it, but then they're going to film it. So that's what they want the audience at home to see, so that they can see what they were going through. It's very kind of two levels kind of clever. And you fear for Pablo and you fear for everybody else, but at the same time, you understand why they're trying to get as much footage as they can. And everything that freaky that gets caught on camera isn't just filmed for the sake of being filmed. It's filmed on accident. They don't expect anything that's going to happen, you see. That's the really clever nature of the two layers and everything that I'm getting really confused about how I'm rambling. This is why I need a script. And yes, like I said, the editing is really slick. The cinematography, for being handheld, is really damn good, and it works to the effectiveness of the cramped nature and the tiny flat rooms and the darkness, because there's night vision scenes and everything. Everything works really well. The sound design is great. I can't think of any moments where there were really any music or anything. The atmosphere is really just dank and oppressive, and it's just really, really a really damn well made horror movie in itself. I just don't think it's absolutely terrifying, but as a horror movie, I can really respect what it was doing. And as a general movie, yeah, it's just over an hour long. It's short, but it gets everything it needs to nailed, as far as I'm concerned. It is really damn good. And watching this, it now makes me realise how fucking shameless Quarantine was, and how lazy it was, and how, like I said, flaccid it was. So yeah, if you were thinking about watching either this or Quarantine, fucking skip fucking Quarantine. Stay with this. And because of that, on the recommendation scale, I'm going to say it's a must-see. I know, it didn't scare me, but it's a really damn good movie, and I just want more people to see this one instead of the fucking Quarantine one, because this movie does everything that Quarantine does, but does it a million times better, and has a way better ending as far as I'm concerned, and it's just a better made movie, and I think it's even shorter. It does everything it needs to do with a shorter running time. I don't 100% know, but I think it does. Basically, I would say it was a must-see if you do not listen to the hype. Don't listen to the hype. Fear is subjective. Never, when it comes to horror movies, never listen to scariest movie of all time nonsense. Don't listen to that, because you're only going to end up disappointed. We did, and we ended up a little bit disappointed. But thinking back and I'll probably watch it again at some point. Thinking back on retrospect, I can definitely say it is a great movie. If I didn't realise it was going to be one of the scariest things I was ever going to see, I probably wouldn't have been as disappointed with the lack of proper scares in the first half or anything like that. But it's still I can respect it as a horror movie, I can respect it as a really damn good movie. So yeah, must see / highly recommend. But it's basically in the top of there, but I don't fucking know, it's good, alright? It's really good. I just wasn't scared by it, and Caddy's wasn't scared by it, shut up. So with that, if it's your birthday today watching this video, happy freaking birthday to you. Please remember to stay beautiful, don't watch Quarantine, watch Record, and experience fear. Kind of. We didn't, but you could at home. So if it's your birthday today watching this video, happy freaking birthday to you. Please remember to stay beautiful. I'll see everybody on Sunday. And until next time, ta-ra.